A very warm welcome to our guests of the 55th DOK.fest Munich and the first online edition of DOK.fest Munich at Home. I'm Anja Klauck. I'm part of the programmer team, and I'm very proud and happy that we selected this year Overseas by SungA Yoon for our section DOK Horizon. This film is being seen now as a German premiere and is also nominated for our Audience Award that is donated by the German TV broadcast stations Bayerischer Rundfunk and Dreisat. So there's also an online voting. So if you have seen the film, you can give some clapping hands, maximum 5, and afterwards on the 22nd of May, the winner will be chosen. But now I'm very happy to welcome the director of the film, SungA Yoon. Welcome, SungA Yoon.
Hello, I'm very happy to be with you.
Yeah, me too. So how are you and where are you joining us from at the moment?
So I am now at the moment in Brussels. I live here in Belgium. And I'm good. I think I'm not the worst, the person that has the worst condition of living at this difficult moment.
So for a start, maybe you can tell us something about the topic of overseas. How did you come across these overseas Filipinos workers, these women that are being trained in the Philippines to work as housemates abroad to make some money?
So it started many years ago when I was still a student here in Brussels. I was studying in a cinema school. And I would take a tramway every day, and I would see the Filipino women taking care of these little kids that were going to British schools at this moment. Mm-hmm. And they became part of my daily life, and I would see them, observe them, and I was, just wondering where they come from. I mean, in which condition, they came, and things like that. And then many years later, I came across reading a book by this Filipino sociologist called Asuncion Fresno-Zaflo. And she studied the condition of living of the Filipino domestic workers living in Paris. And that are in this family-wise angle. And she's studying how she keeps the relation going on with her kids left behind in the Philippines, and the new position of the husband in the family, etc. And then, little by little, I discovered that the government has institutionalized this migration of domestic labor abroad, and I started the scouting and everything, and I ended up making the film.
Mm-hmm. Did you do any additional kind of research in advance?
Yeah, it was mostly, I'm sorry?
Yeah. Like talking to experts or something like that?
Yeah, I have met this Asuncion Fresno-Zaflo, but also a Swiss researcher called Julien de Bonneville that was writing a thesis about these schools of training centers in the Philippines. And I met them, and then I started to prepare the scouting, and then I did several scouts. I observed a lot on the spot, all the process of training and migration before doing the film.
How much time was between the research and you really going to the Philippines to do some shooting?
I would say that the research, I don't know if I can be really precise, but I first started broader research like on domestic work, and then I focused on the Filipino case. So I would say like 1 year researching, and then I met the person, and then the researchers, and then I would say 4 years to do the scout and make the film.
Mm-hmm. Wow, this is a lot of time.
It was a long process, yes.
Why did you choose exactly this training center? I read that you saw about like 20 of them. And why did you choose to shoot there?
Actually, there are many different, yeah. So the fact that, so I was looking for a training center that was a regular one, that was where the people would undergo the regular training, so the one accredited by the government and that were respecting all the rules of the government. And there are different, so you have also the space, you have different elements to take care in consideration. But the main reason was that I like the people that are running the training center. I was thinking that they would really let me meet the women that the trainees that would be in the training center. The director of the training center is also a former domestic worker abroad. And also some of the trainers were also ex-abroad. And I liked also the space, the locations. As you see in the film, you have kind of model apartment of the employer, and we needed some space also to shoot. And but the main reason was that I felt that they would be willing me to meet the woman, and that was the core really of the film.
Mm-hmm. So was it very difficult to get the permission to shoot there because you said it's a government accredited training center, or is it something normal, or maybe there are sometimes also TV crews coming over and do some shooting?
I think it was a really long process. So, each time I would go to scout, I would also visit the government and explain my project. And with the training center, I would also do the same, explain why I wanted to film. And in a way, it was not so difficult because, the training center is a regular one and they're doing a good job. And they are also proud of what, the way they're teaching. And so they had nothing to hide, I mean.
Mm-hmm. Talking about the shooting, I think you had like some special conditions because you were shooting as a very small team. And also, I mean, you also lived in the center, if I'm right. So maybe you can explain.
Yes, that indeed. Yeah, so we were on the spot with them and experimenting their daily life and filming them constantly. We would never get out, and we had some people bringing us food from outside. So we were in the same condition, and that's not the same, but they were also there and at the training center, and they were not allowed to go out except during Sunday. Mm-hmm. And without their cell phone, also using their cell phone. So they already were a bit in the condition of working abroad in a way. So and that's how we spend our time and we met them.
So that meant you were living under the same conditions, so you weren't allowed either to use your mobile, for example, or?
No, that's why I'm saying almost the same. No, we were not. We were using our cell phones actually. So.
Okay, talking about the training itself a little bit. I mean, you can see very much scenes very close, what they are really learning and how the interaction is and everything. But if you talk about like the hard facts, how is this kind of training in the Philippines? How long is it, and how many women are doing this? So because I didn't have a clue before actually.
Yeah, so every year you have 200,000 Filipino women leaving the country to go abroad, to deploy abroad as domestic worker. And this training is mandatory, so you have to undergo this training to have your exit visa. But in the film, we have the impression that it's all concentrated in one location, but actually it takes more time. The training itself is, when I film, it was 216 hours of training. Mm-hmm. But I think that it has been extended to 700. Normally it was in process when I was there. And they have other courses like language courses, and also different kind of seminar, pre-departure or orientation seminar, or so you have other courses that are not in that you don't see in the film. And I decided to concentrate on the training center part, where you learn the technical skills of domestic work, and also the attitude training.
Mm-hmm. And how did you meet the women? I mean, did they have trust in you from the very beginning, or was it quite difficult? Did you have any special strategies to approach them?
So it was quite one of a kind way of shooting, because when you're in documentary, usually you meet your characters before you choose them. Even you do a kind of casting in advance, and here actually we met them really on the spot. So meaning that we chose the training center we wanted to shoot in, that's for sure, but we didn't know in advance who would be there. So it was the real challenge of the film, and that was really challenging. Mm-hmm. And so the first day they arrived, we talked to them about the project, and then we shot with them. They all accepted. So at first time immediately. Mm-hmm. to be part of the film. And I have to say that the encounter was very natural, immediate. I mean, it was a double kind of movement, because they didn't know each other. Mm-hmm. So they had to meet, as a group, each other, and we didn't know them. So it was, of course, at the beginning, we were a bit shy. They wouldn't really, be willing to, that we record everything, and little by little, they understood very fast, actually, what we were trying to do. They got very well that we didn't want to, just catch something very fast, and then, they felt that we were trying to really understand something, and to observe also, and to shoot in a long duration way. And they were so surprising. I mean, because we shot, and they were actively participating more and more, and it was so surprising to see them, because they were so natural in front of the camera, and they were also so smart in in being in front of the camera, understanding what we were doing, very generous in giving us so many things, stories, emotions, and they're really like actresses. It was very surprising. They had a kind of aura, grace, and we really tried to set up a kind of space, a room where we could, really share and do the film together.
Mm-hmm. Did they see the film?
Yeah, so before the world premiere we had in Locarno, we sent them the film when it was a shift, and but most of them were already deployed, and so I think they watched it like on their cell phone or something, and they were very happy to watch it, and they all cried. What they said. And I had the chance to screen the film in Hong Kong last year, in October, and 3 of them were there in Hong Kong working. There were more at the moment, but unfortunately the day off was not on Sunday. And so 3 of them came at the screening, and we could share the Q&A together, and it was very moving and intense moment. And they would, like answer the question, why did you decide to participate in the film? And they would really forcefully, talk about the fact that they're really willing to have with this film, that the consideration of people would change towards them. And so it was a beautiful moment we had.
That would be also my next question. How is the attitude towards these women in the Philippines? I mean, are they considered like weak or poor, or what is their social standing?
Sorry, I didn't get the beginning of the question.
It was just like, what is the social reputation of these women in the Philippines that are doing this kind of job? Are they considered like good women because they are doing something for the country, because they are also called, by Duterte, they are called like heroes because they're bringing in money? Or are they like, considered like weak persons or poor persons? Or
yeah, I mean, for the media, they're, in the government, they're easily called heroes of the economy because, of course, they make the country live out of their remittances. But it depends. I mean, in a community, if you're the one who is going abroad, you sometimes send the money, to the community also, and so you become someone that has a kind of power, economic power suddenly, and sometimes in the family, when the woman start to have this economic power, she has a new position in the family. But also as there are domestic workers abroad, it's not, they're also not really well considered. Like, for instance, if you see the kids of OFWs, so the overseas Filipino workers, the parents have a new economic power, and sometimes they send the kids to the private schools, for instance. And in the schools, the kids are not with their mother or father. And then there are also the other student would look down at them because their mother is a domestic worker, so not really well considered, and so rejected, sometimes bullied. Sometimes I heard a lot of stories like that.
Okay, I would also like to ask a question on the aesthetics or the structure of the film, and also it's on the formal aspect, because I think for me it's like a hybrid documentary, because some of the scenes are like staged and they have their trainings and their role play. To what extent did you impact it or influence that, or is it like, or why did you choose this kind of format?
So what I was really what I was really attached to was, I mean, as a filmmaker, so in general, if I go shooting and when I do the film, of course I prepared a lot in advance, but I like being surprised myself and be as open as possible to the reality and to the person I'm filming, so that the film will be influenced by that. And because otherwise I would have the impression just to have something in mind and try to do it and change the adapt the whole reality I have around me just for my idea. But the idea was really to exchange something with them, and that's why when I told you I did the film with them, is because many of the like scenes were not planned in advance, and it's really because they brought something out of them that I had this idea of doing some of the stage more orchestrated scenes. So so I would say that first the film is as I observed these role play exercises that they're doing. So to put the trainees in the situation of working abroad, facing an employer that could be violent, abusive, or And so I found this, I mean, not all the trainings are using this tool. When I saw that, I was, of course, very interested as a filmmaker, because I found it very efficient to show already what is happening abroad, with being only in a kind of academic setup, with a teacher and a classroom. And it was also very strong how in these role plays the women would really project themselves abroad and in the near future situation. So it was very intense, and so we didn't need really words to explain things. They were really showing it with their bodies and their faces, their emotion. And so little by little we were shooting, and we knew them more, of course, each other. So by hearing their story, their impressions and things like that, I decided to film things like, for instance, the monologue we did really happened a bit on the spot. Like there were so the woman that we see at the window, for instance, we shot with her, and I asked her how it was with her former employer, and suddenly we had natural light that was evolving, because the sunset is really fast there in the Philippines. And so with this light, and there's a kind of atmosphere, and she had a kind of inner voice, and it became something. And then after, I decided to do some other kind of monologue like this with others. And also at the end, when we go to the family of some of the trainees, it was not planned at all, and we really decided to go there because we realized on the spot that suddenly we were there a bit like in the training center, and then the day we went out, we suddenly realized also the contrast between in this kind of door closed apartment scenery, and then this nature that is completely a different one than you will find in Hong Kong, in apartments. And there was also a trainee that was so attached to her mountains where she lives in, and she had such a close relationship with nature that I found it very important to show also what these ladies are going to leave behind before going abroad, and being like 7 days a week in an apartment and in an environment that is totally not their own in the country.
That is a woman that is also being seen in one of the last pictures when she has to leave her child, I guess.
So it's not her, but just before, when you see this girl walking in the mountain, we see this lady that is walking, and you have these beautiful mountains surrounding her. And it is the only shot of real nature in the film. And it was so important to see her with her walking as a free body, a free woman, walking freely in these beautiful mountains. Was an image that was important to me to leave a trace, to leave for the audience.
So thank you very much for your wonderful film and for doing this Q&A. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy that the film can be shown to the German audience, and thank you so much for the questions and everything.
Thank you. And I also want to say again that if you like the film, then please vote for the Kino Audience Award online. And to the audience at the DOK.fest Munich, enjoy the festival and stay healthy.